For those that do not know who I am Jessica Van Hevelen, OCIO's Google Support Specialist. I'm a Google certified trainer, been using Google too long to count, but I'm excited about today's training to give you all the Q2 updates, and we have several of them today. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue on. Just a friendly reminder, we do have a YouTube channel, and we always strongly encourage you to subscribe, review, and watch. We have had a lot more activity on our YouTube channel, so I definitely would check it out. So definitely, if you have not subscribed, go ahead and click on the YouTube channel. It will take you to the, obviously, Google Help YouTube channel. I am currently subscribed, but when you click subscribe, select all, and you will get all the updates when they are posted on our Google Help website. Also on our YouTube channel, we also have lots of numerous playlists. One of the playlists that we do have available at your fingertips is the 2023 update. So if you click on the 2023 update playlist, you will see that currently we have 36 videos that go over all the updates as well in a more detailed fashion. So you have an option as well. So again, if you haven't been on the YouTube channel, I strongly encourage you. There's also a lot of training available, not just for the updates. So again, take advantage of what we have for you to support you in our Google Workspace environment. Then I'm going to move on with the slide deck. We also have a new opportunity for you today. This will be also posted in our Q2 newsletter that will be sent out on July 5th. We have a new Google Help-Iowa chat space. This chat space is configured for announcements only. It's ordered to provide you as a user all the Google Workspace tips and tricks content. It is replacing our previous Google Help community page, if you are aware of that. Currents is now being deprecated, which is one of the announcements I will talk a little bit about. So Currents is no longer supported by Google. We, the Google team, needed to find a replacement to support those that want to be in the know in such a Google Workspace updates. Then we have now created an announcement only chat space. Are you interested to join that community chat space? Just go ahead and click on the button. It will take you to the chat space and it will ask you to join. Obviously, I'm under my account. It won't ask me to join. I've already created it. You will click join and you will see a welcome message. If you join later, you will find other content. I promise you, this is not something you're going to get 6 chat messages a day. I promise you that. It takes work to post those communications out. I try to do 2 to 3 a week, and there are some weeks that it is absolutely 0. I get a lot of projects that fall under other duties assigned, and sometimes such as Google Workspace updates does get pushed back when those duties come. So I do try to stay on top of it because it is important for you to be in the know. And this is a great opportunity to be in the know when it happens inside our domain. So again, just a quick click join, you get a chat, and then you know it will not bombard your chat space area. It's just going to be 1 or 2, probably a week. And then no one else can respond to it, which sometimes is very important. They can just hit the emoji icon. So again, this is one of the new updates that we'll talk about, the announcement only chat space. So again, take advantage of it. If you forget, don't have time, it will be also in the newsletter that we send out in July. So for those that are new to this live stream or any of my trainings regarding the quarter updates, what we do is we go through each app that has an update. And so we're going to start, I do it in alphabetic order. We're going to start with chat. So that's what we're going to start with today. And we're going to focus on Q2 2023 chat updates. So the first one is all newly created spaces will be inline threading. So if you have not tried spaces, it won't make a difference to you because this is going to be the new norm. If you have created a space, this is going to maybe be a slightly different experience for you. So when you go into your chat area, now many of us might go to chat through Gmail and some of us will go to chat.google. There's no wrong way. It's a flavor choice, which is your favorite flavor. So if regardless, when you create a new space, you will now have the option, and the default option will be inline threading. This is awesome. Inline threading is the way we like to talk about how we are used to it on our iPhones. We hold down and hit reply, and we're talking in that conversation, and it's in line with that, right? We're used to that little indent. This is the conversation that goes with it. This is what this particular update's about. The other thing about this update, though, is that later in this year, sooner than later, probably by now, All existing spaces that use conversation topic will be converted or migrated, however you want to say it, to the new inline threading experience. So I think that's great because I don't want to create a new space and want to use that new inline threading experience. I'll just wait for Google to then migrate that and change that format of that space to be inline threading. Inline threading is a lot easier to follow when it comes to the conversation. So be aware of that. So if again, I'm just going to remind you a few housekeeping items on each slide. So you'll find most, if not 90% of the slides have either a GIF, which you can follow along and look at, but all of them have, not all of them, most of them have a YouTube video tied to this update, so we can dive deeper into that update. And also you can always click on the tips and tricks training. When you click on the tips, tricks training, it will take you to the post that referring to that update, which then provides you additional resources, as you can see here as well. So again, a lot of information, as I mentioned in the previous slide, many resources. So again, just make note of all the buttons that you have on each slide. So again, it's the tips and tricks, the YouTube video, and the GIF will give you a better understanding. And last thing, at the end, I will give you a quick demonstration on some of the top quarter updates. So you have a little more of a demo presentation as we have time allowed as we continue on. So this is what we got going on today. So we're going to go ahead and continue on with the next update. The next update is enabling organizational communication with announcements in Google Chat. A quick way to say that is is there a fire drill? You can send a chat and it's just going to be announcement only. So with that, it's a configuration, just like I mentioned in the chat space that we're creating for our Google Help resources, that is going to be an announcement only. The announcement only means that the manager can post, or managers, depending if you have multiple managers on a space, will be able to send out, that's right, an announcement, a notification. It's not this is not a collaborative environment as much, but sometimes there is a need to just be announcement only. So you have the option when you create a space, as you can see in this GIF, you can see there's an option now, only space managers can post. So this would be great for the director's administrative assistant to create one, and then we can send out communications that way for, like, we're going to have a fire drill. Hey, don't forget to submit time cards. Those kind of things is a great way to just quick little statement you can post inside the chat spaces. So a very nice way to provide a one-way controlled communication in a chat space. So again, I'm very excited about this one. It was a perfect solution for what I needed regarding the currents replacement. So again, definitely a very valuable update within Google Workspace. This one you probably have already noticed. This one is not as important, but it's very helpful, I will say, providing greater visibility with additional Google Calendar statuses in Google Chat. You probably, like I said, have noticed this. Many of us do chat a lot every day. That is our new norm, especially in our hybrid environment. With that being said, it is kind of nice to know if someone's busy and what are they doing. You'll notice new banners appearing when you're chatting someone. So for example, I was going to chat John this morning, and I noticed he said he's in focus time until 10 o'clock. It used to just tell me he's in focus time, but now it tells me that he's in focus time till 10 o'clock. What does that tell me? It tells me to pause and not interrupt him. That would be a nice thing to do. But I also know he might be available after 10 o'clock, and now I can maybe reach out to him after 10 o'clock to ask him a question. It allows us to be a little more polite, I would have to be honest. So it tells us like focus time, how much longer they're in a meeting. So it could have been focus time in John's case, but if you actually pulled me up in chat right now, you'll see that I am unavailable until 11:30, and it will say she's in a meeting until 11:30. So what does that tell you? I'm not going to be available to talk to you right now, right? In theory, right? The other thing it does within some of the banners that you have is someone's upcoming out of office. So let's say I am going to be out of the office on Friday. So if you were trying to chat me on Thursday, it will tell you that I'm going to be out of office the next business day. Those are good things to be aware of when you're working collaborative with a team member, right? So these are really nice things. If you send a chat and you see the banner goes away. Okay, so if you start typing and in that chat space, that banner will disappear. Also, you can remove that banner by just clicking on the X as well, and that banner will be removed. So not like a huge issue at all, but just so you know that. But again, a great way to know what's going on. So no longer have to see them across the hall to see what they're doing. I know that John is focusing right now, let's leave him alone, and whatever the case may be. So I really like that detailed status as well. Moving on, we're going to now talk about Google Calendar updates. So this one is to save time with suggested work locations in Google Calendar. So again, this is all about the hybrid work environment that we are also used to ever since COVID, if not some of us before then. We are working in different locations. Most of the time I'm working from home. Sometimes I go in the office, you know, whatever the case may be. Maybe I'm working at Starbucks. In a real case scenario, probably in executive leadership, sometimes they're at the Capitol, sometimes they're in the office, sometimes they're working from home. If they selected the Capitol, in our case or whatever, that would be a new suggested location. And so you can adjust your working location and it will bring those suggested locations or locations that you've used in the past. So it's just another way to help know what your coworkers are doing, not that you're stalking, lack of better words, but again, it's just nice to know where they're at so you know why or they haven't responded, and set expectation to kind of have a better understanding what your teammates are doing so you're not waiting on something. It's another way to plan ahead as well. So again, a nice way to quickly, easily add your different work locations is really what this one is, but it's just the purpose of why that is important to adjust your work locations in Google Calendar. The next one is Google Docs. These are probably my top ones are the Google Doc updates. With that being said, this particular update is regarding Smart Canvas. Now, again, if you're not have ever heard of the word Smart Canvas, I strongly encourage you to check out the additional resources posted on the slide deck. That's the reason that the slide deck, or that's the reason the Smart Canvas is a new terminology, and it is a tool that we use within our Google Workspace. It is a product that we have, and it's a very valuable product, and it continues to grow. Also, I have a video to talk deeper into Canvas, Smart Canvas, if you are really new to Smart Canvas altogether. With that, it's just tools and features that fall into the bucket of Smart Canvas, and this is one of the updates that fall into the bucket of Smart Canvas. For example, in this update, you have the capability of adding stopwatches, as you can see in the GIF. Now you're like, why do I need a stopwatch? Well, obviously you can see where it's beneficial in maybe education when they're practicing reading or something. That might be a good case scenario, but it actually could be used in our own agency. We have to report the time we're working on certain projects and bill it out, right? You could actually start a stopwatch in a Google Doc to know that I worked 2 hours on project A, or how long did it take me to do that task? And they want to know how long that particular project's going to take for every time I do it. So it's a great way to just have a quick stopwatch. Or maybe you're on your 15-minute lunch break. I don't know, whatever it is that you want to do, but you can use the stopwatch feature within Google Docs. The other one is expanded date capabilities. This gives you a more relative concept. So for example, if I wanted to use the expanded date option, I could type in the @ sign and say this Friday. And when I say this Friday, it's going to pull up the date in this particular time frame, June 30th, which is Friday, right? So it just allows you to use more relative, more natural language, and which is helpful when you're using that option within Google Docs. So again, a nice feature within Smart Canvas. But honestly, this is my ultimate favorite launch probably of this quarter. I would strongly encourage you to watch out this video. This gives you some great ways to really streamline your workflow within Google Docs using the new smart chip called variable chips. I kind of went outside the box with my training on that video and showing you how you can really use it in business needs, such as making email templates, using policies and procedures, and how you can use the new variable chip to help not collect your data, but to populate your data, excuse me. So what is a variable chip? It's exactly a placeholder and as such. A lot of us use placeholders within a Google Doc format or even the previous world Word. you would highlight a particular text, and this would give you a visual indicator that you would need to change the highlighted text, right? You might need to add the date, you might need to add the user's name, you might need to add the address. So as you can see in the text in here, it says it's really good for contracts, invoices, clients' names, and etc. Now, in place of the highlighted text that we used to use, you can actually insert a variable chip. And that variable chip can be populated in multiple places on your document. And once you enter that particular field and add the content, say, for example, if we use the variable chip, named it name, and I put in Jessica, and if I had the variable chip named Jessica, a name all the way throughout the document, it would populate Jessica throughout the entire document. I will demonstrate this at the end so you have a better idea, but this is a really nice way to insert placeholders. Again, great, valuable tool to have more efficiency and accuracy, especially in those types of communications. So I'm very excited about this update. Improve content organization in Google Docs. This is yes and no. It's a good update. All of them are good updates, don't get me wrong, but this is regarding table of contents. Okay, many of us, or maybe don't even use a table of contents within Google Docs. I use it quite often, actually. With that, there's something you need to know before you use table of contents. It's paragraph styling. And if you're new to the word paragraph styling, then you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Then you don't really know how to incorporate a table of contents. Nothing wrong with that. Guess what? We got you covered on that. If you click on that tips and tricks, it talks about what paragraph styling is and how you can use paragraph styling, such as header 1, header 2, header 3. And then when you customize those headers in the paragraph styling, it will then add a table of contents. Okay. Now that with this particular update, it's not talking about that, is now the table of contents has made updates where you can toggle between the default styles, which is nice. You can toggle between page numbers. You have some new ways to indent the headers. Again, all great things. All great things. But again, if you're not even comfortable with the table of contents, you need to go back a step and learn paragraph styling. This is another good update. Collaborate with others on Google Calendar, Invites, and Google Docs. So I like to, as you probably have already noticed, I like to give you business case scenarios because then you're like, what would I use this update for, right? Some of us have to do public meetings. Some of us have calendar invitations that are really kind of maybe sensitive, and we need to make sure that it is right, correct? And usually when we make sure it's right, what do? We collaborate, right? Well, you can't really collaborate on a calendar invitation, which you probably have already done a workaround. If you do need to make sure that everything is right on this big public meeting and all the content is correct, you probably have already created a Google Doc, shared the content, and then collaborated and make sure everything is good to go. Well, Google probably knew that's what you were doing, and then now incorporated this new building block called Calendar Event Draft. Okay, you may have already heard of the email draft building block that we'll talk about again in a little bit because I'll show you in the demonstration. But now you have a calendar event draft. What does that do? You can see here in the screenshot that it brings in a table, the title, who are you inviting, start time and date, location, and then a description. Okay, great. Now we can now share that document with that new building block, calendar event draft, collaborate, work on it together. Awesome, right? Well, now you can just click on the little calendar icon and then it will open it up in calendar, and then all you have to do is save and publish. There are some hiccups with this one I did come across. I believe Google will fix them. Not that it's a bug, but it's just something you need to be aware of. Again, if you love this and this is something, I would strongly encourage you to check out the YouTube video. If this is you that has to do a lot of calendar invitations and you want to make sure it's accurate, you're already probably collaborating. Now you have a tool within Google Docs to make it even more efficient. The next app is Google Drive. So with that, in this one, you will be able to streamline file organization with Google Drive. So what you can do on this one is that you can, I'm sorry, just one second, I'm gonna make sure, okay. Streamline file organization with new Google Drive location picker. Now, you may recall from the previous quarter, we talked about when you are in Google Drive and you do a search such as looking up a file, you hover over it, you will see now there's a location. It tells you exactly where that file is located. Awesome, looks more like File Explorer. This one is not quite the same update. It kind of seems confusing with the title, in my humble opinion. What this one does is, now that we have a file, file A, we want to put file A into a new location. Okay, I've always said Google's pop-up window was clunky. Google finally heard me, haha, that needed to be changed, and it is changed. So you'll notice in the GIF here, it is a new pop-up box. So if you click on a file or folder, and now you're making a conscious decision to make it, you want it in a different location, move to, you would right click, choose move to, put that file in a new location. It will then give you like 3 tabs in that pop-up dialog box. It will give you suggested, which is probably more accurate than you think. It's knowing kind of your patterns, right? It's using the artificial intelligence to know that these are probably the places you want to put that file. And then you have starred, which is more likely your favorites, right? Your starred is your favorite file locations, which is the most used if you're using that starred feature. And then last, you have the option to select my drive. All your other locations, not just my drive, but all your other locations, which will default from my drive to shared drive if you have shared drive, and then you select where you want to go. This is nice. This works really nice. It does take a little time to get used to. But with that as well, you'll notice in the breadcrumb, in the dialog box, you'll notice, let me see if I wait for the GIF to come up. When he selects the particular location, notice that there's breadcrumbs at the bottom. So it even tells you, here's the folder name. Okay, but you might have that folder name in multiple, that folder name might be the same folder name for several different folders within there, right? But you want to make sure it's in the right path. You'll notice the breadcrumbs or the path, whatever you call them, will appear in that dialog box as well. So again, it gives you a lot of information. The process is exactly the same when instead of file move to, you are choosing right click, add a shortcut to drive. Either way, the same process is the same, except for you're not saying move, you're making a button action of add, right? So be aware of that. So again, new dialog box, looks different. You have 3 different tabs when you're trying to move or add a shortcut. You have the breadcrumbs appearing at the bottom. Just again, better user-friendly experience for you in the Google Drive infrastructure. Enhancing spam protection in Google Drive. This is just really notifying you in Google Drive. You have a new folder location called spam. It works exactly the same as what you're used to in Gmail. In Gmail, you have a spam folder called spam. Okay, if you have something in there for 30 days, what happens? It will then be deleted permanently forever. So Google is just now doing the same thing inside Google Drive. You can report things. I just don't feel like that is something I really want to go down, but there are things you can do. Obviously, follow your own security guidelines on that, but you do have a location of a new folder inside of Google Drive called spam. Google Meet has a few updates as well. So with that, the first one is external label for Google Meet participants. Again, another case scenario, you are scheduled a meeting, and this meeting is people that are Office 365 users that are not Google Workspace users. They will then show an external banner, okay? As an external banner because they're not part of the Google Workspace environment. This external banner is to help you know that you're working with people outside the state of Iowa as Google users. So why would we want to see that banner? What are you sharing in that meeting, right? It just gives you a little warning. You also find out who is the external user. You'll notice in here that you can see that these 2 users are the ones that have the banner. Those are the people that are outside your Google Workspace environment in our organization. Same thing if you're working with a vendor and they join the Google Meet, then you will then find out, then you will see that external banner because they're not part of our state of Iowa Google Workspace domain. So just a nice visual to just kind of give you like, oh, someone's not part of our organization on our meeting. Heads up, pay attention, who is it? And then, you know, are you in a safe environment to discuss? Fill in the blank. You have the option to co-present Google Slides in Google Meet. So if you're unaware, in a previous quarter, we informed you, I believe it was previous quarter, it doesn't matter, We have the capability of presenting a slide directly. Well, let me back up. We have the capability to share, present by tab inside your Google Meet and run the slide inside your Google Meet. It has to be a slide deck, Google slide presentation, and you can actually run the slide deck directly in Google Meet. This is a great when you have one screen, right? And also we know by now in our Meet environment, if you have a lot of animations or videos, the best way to run a Google Meet is always by tab, okay? Now that we know that, that's kind of the previous update. This update allows me to have a co-presenter run my presentation. So I could, in this case scenario, would be able to present by tab. I need help running this large meeting. I could then ask Jolene to, hey, I need you to co-present for me, not a co-host. I didn't say, I said co-presenter. So then I can Grant, as the main presenter, could say, hey, can you help me navigate my slides? So now you have the option of having additional people help you as you are running a big meeting, and more than likely you need help running the slide deck as well. So there is some limitations where they don't get to do everything as the co-presenter, as a main presenter, but if they're the ones that help running the slide deck and you're the one that's talking and focusing, that is a great feature for you. So again, check out that resource if that is something that applies to your business needs. This one's just funny. So I'll be honest. Turn off video feed for select tiles in Google Meet. Okay, I think this is for education, but maybe in your own meetings, you're annoyed as well, or you have someone that always loves the filters inside your Google Meet. I don't know, you choose. But with that being said, or maybe they're just really being distracted. Maybe they're eating, I don't know, whatever it is, but you just like, I can't watch that right now, right? So what you can do in your own Google Meet environment, you can turn off video feed. So if someone is being a little too much of a jokester in your Google Meet environment, and you're like, I need to pay attention, you can go over to the people screen and you can select turn off video feed. The good news, it won't tell them that you think they're obnoxious right now. It will not tell them that you're turning off their video feed. Okay, it is just something that you will then just turn off that video feed for that particular person or persons, and then it will give you the avatar look, which is the letter or their profile picture that they have in their Google account. This is just one of those things that maybe just makes you get through the day. I don't know. So there is that capability. We know that sometimes in Google Meet environments, not a Google Meet environment, it's just the video conference environment, right? That it can be kind of cumbersome at times, unless like we already know that we can mute people when they've got like bad feedback or whatever the case may be. Well, this can be obnoxious just as a visual thing as well, or irritating. So you can always just turn off that video feed. You'll find my video is kind of funny. I pick on myself, to be honest. The other thing is, you already know this one. When you joined the live stream, we already mentioned it, that you have the capability now in Google Meet live streams. And I'll be honest, I'll add an update. You can do live HD as well in a normal Google Meet environment. So you can do HD both in Google Meet live streams and normal Google Meet. That is up to you. I kind of hesitate to say the Google Meet because I don't know what your network bandwidth is wherever you're working. So of us at home don't maybe have the strongest network system, so sometimes then you might have issues with Google Meet if you try to go to HD. The good news that Google will then downgrade you if you are having issues, but do know that you do have the quality of high definition in both Google Meet live stream and Google Meet all together inside a meeting that I'm in right now. So just be aware of that. You do have high definition as a selection. Let's talk about Google Sheets here. More Smart Canvas. Again, this one has the option in Google Sheets to add more smart chips. In this particular case, place chips. I kind of call them the Google Map chips. You can actually add in, use the famous search menu, and then start typing in an address like 200 East Grand. It will bring up that address, and then you have a preview of that address as well. So it'd be really good for GIS users or itinerary, or so whatever, like this is what your travel itinerary is, and it brings up all of it in preview, and you can use those smart chips. We also already talked about the expanded date capabilities by using relative more natural language. You have that same capability in Sheets as well. Finance chips, maybe not something that's highly used in the state of Iowa, but it is nice. You can actually do an @ and add a finance chip, like you could do Google's finance chips and find out what their stocks and NASDAQ and all that is on there as well. So you have finance chips, you have place chips, which is also called Google Maps, and then expanded date capabilities as well. So again, 3 new chips in a sense, or improvements to 1 and 2 new chips you have available within Google Sheets now. Actually, this one is more important in my humble opinion. This is something that I was very excited when this came out. This is actually adding more additional functionality in Google Sheets regarding smart chips. Let me go back to another case scenario. My particular job is obviously a Google support specialist, but I also get tasks of small projects. And sometimes then in those small projects, I need to make a to-do list, a task list, and I get to use Sheets. With that, sometimes that ownership of that task is more than one person, right? And so before this update, I would have to make it almost 2 lines if that ownership of that task is 2 different people. You follow me? But now with this current update, I'm allowed to insert multiple smart sheet chips into one cell. So now I no longer need the same task duplicated, because really it was ownership of 2 different people. I can now make it one task, and I can insert both people in that chip in that particular cell. So you can see in this GIF exactly what I'm talking about. They have 2 smart chips inside one cell. You did not have that capability until just recently. So a nice feature, because that's reality, right? That's reality. We need the flexibility. Love the smart chips, because the smart chips gives us so much more preview options within our Google Workspace environment. But we need that flexibility, and this is part of that flexibility that we have available now in Google Sheets. The other thing is you can now add YouTube data. You can use the smart chip there, where you can choose chip when you're inserting a YouTube video. So again, I like that one as well. So more options within Google Sheets and Smart Canvas. Sites is not highly used as a whole within the state of Iowa, but the people that use sites love sites updates, and I am one of them. And these 3 updates are really important to me, to some of the users that I work with at Google Sites. So again, I'll make sure we get those 20% taken care of as well, and making sure they're informed about sites. So this one is introducing new collaboration and, again, flexibility features in regarding, I would say, desktop viewing in regards to this update. Let's focus on the collaboration piece. In Sites, you can collaborate. You can have more than one user on one page. Absolutely, that's great. But what we did not have until this update is allow us to see where the collaborator was at and what they're really doing. I could kind of see where they're at, but if they were typing in a text, I didn't know what they were typing. So it worked almost the opposite of Google Docs. You know, we can always see who's typing and where they're typing in Google Docs. Well, now we have that almost identical experience inside of Sites. So I can see that Jolene is typing in this text box, and I can see what she's typing, which I did not have before this update. So this is a really nice feature. The other thing is alignment in buttons in Sites. But Google Sites has an option to insert a button. With that button, it works great. It's an easy way to add a button and make it interactive. However, your limitations on alignment and how it looked was limited. So they have now allowed us to do it several different ways, to center it, to align it, to justify it, whatever, left, center, right, justified. You have more options on how it's displayed. So it definitely opens up a more flexibility with the buttons. The next option, which kind of falls into 2 updates, but kind of the same thing, is let's just focus on desktop viewing, not mobile. Now, one thing about new Sites is that it's very mobile friendly. So they didn't mess with the mobile friendly or the tablet view, but desktop viewing, we kind of sometimes want more real estate. We want to be able to provide them a little bit different view, and that's exactly what this update's about. You can adjust the width on desktop viewing. So again, a desktop's a computer, and you have the option of normal, full, and wide. And depending on how much data you have on your site, you might want to adjust it to either full or wide. And it just gives you more, again, more real estate, how I would describe it on your desktop viewing. Again, we want it to be mobile responsive and very user-friendly. So it doesn't mess with the mobile view. So we leave that alone, but it leaves the desktop viewing a little more flexibility on how much space you have. The other thing, if you remember in classic sites, they always had a frame, which is kind of the color on the outside of the site. Again, desktop viewing only. You're able to now have that frame outside be a different color on desktop viewing. So again, to my new site users, I like these updates for those that are using it. We do have a few announcements that I want to make sure you're aware of. These are more like changes that are taking place with Google. The product is just making a migration or a deprecation of some sort. One of the things is the first one is, let's talk about contact delegates. Again, this really falls into probably even more 10% of our users. So let's really just give you the case scenario where I think these users fall in. Director A has an admin assistant. That admin assistant has access to Director A's contacts because that admin is taking care of the director's contacts and using that information. That Director A had to give that admin assistant rights to those contacts. Okay. Well, now Google is updating it and giving us more options with this contacts delegation, better things that we can do. So what Google's now making us kind of do in a sense is reauthorize that capability. So Director A will receive, if haven't done so already in this example, will receive a pop-up saying, hey, do you want to give access to admin assistant to delegate access? That's all you really need to do, is that director needs to give access to that admin assistant. And now that admin assistants will then be able to do multiple things, more things with this new update. However, just that if you don't do that authorization, you're going to then they will remove access. And then, so what we've done here is if you check out this resource, again, if this is you, like, oh, I know exactly what she's talking about, delegated contacts, I have delegated contacts, then I'm strongly encouraging you to check out what we have for you as we go through this process. So again, this is the pop-up that I'm referring to regarding Director A would then need to make sure that it's okay for the admin assistant to have delegated access. So this is what this scenario is all about, and there's the resource for you as well. This was talked about last quarter, but sometimes we find out with Google things get pushed back, just like any IT company. Some things just take a little longer than we originally expected. All good intentions, but we know how that goes. Reminders have been migrated to Google Task. Again, not highly used, but I don't want to be the person to say I didn't tell you. Their reminders have been migrated or in the process. Again, Google has pushed this back a little bit. They will be automatically migrated. So if you use reminders in Google Calendar, you might remember there's task and then there's reminders. Reminders is going away. Not that the stuff's going away, it's just now going to be rolled into task. And so we're just going to have one, which honestly, I humbly think this should have been done since day one. So this is a good update. It's just now we have to do this process to get this good update. So there's more information there if that applies to you. Again, not highly used, otherwise it'll be automatically migrated and you'll move on. Oops. The other one, again, small amount of users, but there are, this affected me a lot. So Google will no longer be supporting currents. So our Google Help Currents page is where I made all the posts. It was an opt-in opportunity, and now we're using to use chat spaces. So with that being said, currents is going to be deprecated as of July 4th. 5th is the last day they say it's going to be actually used. So with that, no longer supporting the application, so we can't use it, right? So we have to find a replacement. And those people that it does apply to has already been communicated with the plan. So that if you never use currents, guess what? Don't worry about it. You didn't get a communication because it doesn't apply to you. If you actually had a community out there, a Google community, where you did make posts, you received a communication about that and what you need to do. So with that, I think we're ready for the demonstration portion. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of this screen here for a minute, and I'm going to pull up my trainer account. And I said I'm just going to go over some of the highlighted topics, focusing on mostly chat, meet, and drive of some of the updates that took place, and go from there. And I'm not going to go in any different order. I'm just going to call this the demonstration portion, and we get to just kind of talk about some of the things that we just reviewed in the slide deck, so you can actually see it inside a Google Workspace account. Today's persona, today I'm going to be trainer 13. I will not be Jessica, so I will be in the account trainer 13 as I demonstrate some of these updates. So let's go ahead and get started here. Let's focus on chat first because I'm inside the integrated email system. You'll notice that we have chat. This is also another update. I want to just point out I have not sent a communication on it. It's just that you may have noticed a new look when you're inside chat. You have the option to start chat, browse spaces, or explore. Pretty self-explanatory. You click start chat and you start chatting. But if you click on browse spaces, this is where you can join some spaces. So keep in mind, if you wanted to join the Google Help one, which I think I already did, you can then click on that and search for it and click join, and then you will have access to that particular space. And you will then see it on your spaces. So that's another option there for you. Again, that's there for you. So this is a little different view. With that being said, let's talk about the inline view. So this is an example of an inline threading space. So if I wanted to, again, remember my persona in this case is trainer 13. So even though it says Jessica, guess that I was just testing. So I could hover over this message as trainer 13. And you will see some options here, and this one is to reply in thread. This is an example of a space that's been set up as inline threading. This is not conversation topic. This is inline threading, which is going to be the new experience, and again, will be the migrated option here shortly, where all conversations, all spaces will be in inline threading. So I'm going to go ahead and click on reply in thread, and you will then see the pop-up appear on the right-hand side, and then I can go ahead and respond as normal, and so on. You'll see then it's going to take that conversation and make a thread of it. You can also choose to follow it if you choose to, or unfollow it depending on your case. But that is an example of inline threading. So now you see what you see like on your smartphones, where you see reply, and so it's a very similar concept as that, and now you can just continue replying to this, and same thing with any other account. You can then just brings that conversation all grouped together, and again, you're not trying to scroll, and you can see these are other examples of inline threading. I clicked, there was 3 replies, and you can see the conversation that took place with the subject line, what do you think about working this project Friday? So that's how that works as we go through. What else was on chat? I will point out, let me go to the demo one. This is kind of just make sure you're aware of under your spaces. Let me go back a minute. Under your spaces, you have the option, depending if you're a space manager or not, you will be able to view some of these things. I'm going to go ahead and just go to manage members. You will see that the settings have changed, and you have a lot more options here as you navigate through your spaces. So be aware of the view has changed there. Announcement only. So let me create a new space. You can always create a new space, and let's just briefly talk about that. I'm just going to call it test. And obviously I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend a description. I would recommend putting an emoji on there. Then you have the option to allow it to be restricted or state of Iowa. You know, can other people join this one? Probably most of you, that's not going to be the case, right? But if it is something that you want for other people to join, you have that option. You also need to make note, these settings below the advanced cannot be modified after the space is created. So it's a one and done kind of decision, right? How am I going to use this space? Am I going to make this an announcement only space? I need to make that decision now, or I'm going to have to recreate it altogether. So be aware of that. So make note of that little line there is very important. But this is how you would create only a space manager can post. This goes back to the Google Help Currents page is now going to be a space, right? It's an announcement only, right? This would be another example of a director or an admin assistant sending out mass communications. Fire drill will take place on Friday. Time cards are going to be due on Tuesday. There's no need for a response. It's announcement only, right? So that's where you would make a new space and select space managers can post. And again, that is how you cannot change that after the fact at the current time. So I think that's pretty much it regarding chat. I'm sure I forgot something, but let's go ahead and go to Drive and talk about a few of those updates. The first one is easy, just knowing that there is a new spam folder. Again, I don't foresee a lot appearing in your new spam folder, but again, if you want to view that, that's fine. But if it's in spam, it's in spam for a reason, in my humble opinion. But again, the files will be deleted in 30 days. The other thing is, let's go ahead. I'm going to go to shared with me and just see if I can find a file. The sun is so hot. Well, the sun isn't out today, so let's just look at that one. I'm going to select that file. And now I want to show you the new dialog box that appears when you are trying to move or add to shortcut. So again, this is how I kind of do it. I usually right click and I will then add a shortcut to Drive, or in this case, I can't move it because it's not mine to move. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate it by adding a shortcut to Drive, but it'll be the same process, but the word add instead of versus move. So I'm going to go ahead and click add to shortcut to Drive. You will then see it's telling you what action you're taking. If this was a move, it would say move to. In this case, I'm just adding a shortcut. Where do I want to add a shortcut? Google's going to first help me out and give me a lot of suggestions. So I love that they give me suggestions. If I select one of the suggestions, let's say I still suggest including captions with Google Meet, you will then see, as I mentioned earlier, the breadcrumbs will appear. Oh, wait a minute. I'm not sure that's the right location that I want that in. And these are hyperlinks, so you can always like verify here as well. But again, maybe you want to look at the test one. You'll see where that test folder is at, and it's in these breadcrumbs. Okay. And if none of these are the ones that you like, you can always go to the starred. Okay, I don't have any in this trainer account, but starred would be a great place too. And again, you can select the path and it will give you the breadcrumbs. The next thing is you have all locations, and we'll bring you back to your My Drive, your shared drives, and etc. And then you just click on My Drive, and then you'll see your entire folder infrastructure. And then you can decide, yep, I think it belongs into that demo one, and now it's been added to that demo one. So that's the new dialog box. I would call it the location picker is what they call it, and so much more. The other thing is you can always, let me see what else I was going to do. I don't know what I was going to do. Okay. With that, that's Drive. Let's go ahead. I'm going to go to my priority and show you some of the smart chip things that we have. So let's first do, let's do the stopwatch because that's an easier one. So I'm going to go ahead and do the stopwatch one. So the stopwatch one is a new smart chip inside of Google Docs. So this is one that I gave you earlier. So again, we just click on the @ sign, the search menu, or you can go to Insert Smart Chips and find the stopwatch. Again, your flavor, what way you want to go. I've gotten in the habit of start using the @ sign a lot more. It does take a little time to get used to, but once you do that, you can just do the @ sign. Again, is your new search menu, and you can start typing in what you're trying to do. In this case, stopwatch is what I'm looking for, and then it has a new stopwatch. And then you can see that I'm talking for 2 seconds, 3 seconds. I can pause it. So again, this is a great way to track time if you need to. And then you can say, I worked on training for 7 seconds. So whatever the case may be. So you have that option. You always have the option to reset it as well. The other thing is the relative dates or option. You can go ahead and type in like next, or how about this Friday? How about Friday? How about I start over? Friday. And then you can see Friday. Again, I don't have to know the date of Friday, and it's June 30th, right? So that inserts the date. So again, more natural language if you want. I could also do @ today, and it'll give me today's date. You can always do the date chipper as well. You can just type in the date if you don't like it that way, but it has some more, again, relative options there for you if you choose. So that's one of the updates that you have within Google Docs Smart Chips. So be aware of that. Let me go back to my other examples. I want to go ahead and do the email. Let's do the calendar one. So here's the example of the new building block calendar event. So how I created this block right here was I went to insert building blocks, and you will see a new one called calendar event draft. That's one way to insert that particular template or block. The other option is you can always do @ calendar event. If you spell it right, that's always helpful. There you go, calendar event draft, and you can do the same thing by inserting that. So that's how I got that to display at the top. Now, this is pretty self-explanatory. You need to fill out the fields. I have Google Smart Canvas as the title. I can add guests. I could go ahead and do more guests if I want. I could do trainer 1 by clicking the @ just like the instructions say, and etc. You don't have to do this because hopefully they remove that part. Then you can change the date. I'll just go ahead and do the 29th at 1 p.m. And then the end date, I'll do 2 p.m. And then the location, I use the place chips that we have. So you could do the place chips that we just talked about. I can type in place chips, or I can type in the address. You will then see 200 East Grand shows up on the place chips. So then you have that address that pulls into the location. And then the description. Now this is where it's a little bit of a hiccup in my opinion. It does not allow rich text formatting. So unfortunately, I'm just going to go ahead and copy this URL so you can actually see. If I think this URL should be right here, as I think it should be, that would make sense to me. That's my communication. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. So I'm going to show you how it works. But see, I did a workaround, and I talk more about this in the video if we go back to the slide deck. But I'm telling myself after these little dash lines, don't forget to add these links to the event. Is kind of what I'm doing. So I'm going to click on the preview. I'm ready to go because the purpose of this tool is to what? Collaborate. Remember the big public meeting? I want someone to work on this. So I would have shared this to somebody and have them proof on it. And again, we like to work in our Google Docs to create a lot of templates, right? And this is the same thing. Could be used as a template as well. This is how you set a customized email invitation, right? Multiple ways to improve your communication flow. But with this one, I'm going to go ahead and just click on the preview in Google Calendar. It then will bring in Google Calendar. Oh, they fixed it. That's awesome. That's great. I didn't test that. So I'm glad they fixed it. Maybe I tried it too soon. So glad to see that because that's how it should have worked. If you watch my video, it doesn't work. So glad I did that. So good, it worked. I will have to fix my video. With that, so that's great. So 1 to 2 is the time, and then you have exactly what I think should work. So you have the new rich text formatting in there. Awesome. So glad that's working. So now you have the calendar in here, and you click save. And then the calendar's event. You'll notice, I'm going to go back. I'm back to editing. You'll notice the people that were invited are here. You have the address there. We have the title there. We have the date. We have the new rich text formatting, which is awesome. And I'm going to go ahead and click save. And now that calendar is ready to go. That event has been sent. Yay, I learned something new too today. Let's go to Google Sheets. Let's just switch gears just slightly. This is the other Smart Chips capability. Is you'll notice in this example, we're using the people chip in this column C. And this one has an example. What I meant, like, task 1 has 2 different entries inside one cell. Hallelujah. Great news. So let me show you how that's done. So if I want to do the same thing in this particular cell, I could go ahead and just do the @ and I want to add trainer 5, and I can add even more if I wanted to. And that is how you can add multiple text or multiple smart sheets in one cell. You can also do text. As you can see, I have a finance chip, and then I have text after it. So it's allowing us to be flexible within our cell. This is huge. This is a really big change. So with that, this is a finance chip. So this is a new chip that you have available. Again, you kind of see there's a pattern. You can go to insert and go to smart chips, and then you have all your list of smart chips if you want. Finance chip is a new one, or I can start typing in the finance chips Google, there it is, or I could go the @ and start typing finance, and it will start giving me some list. And if I'm not sure what it is, I can expand it and start typing in what I think it stands for. So you just kind of have to scroll down and you'll find it. The other one is YouTube. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this link here. So if I want, I can paste this YouTube video in here. And now you have the option to replace it as a link or chip. So that was one of the other updates that we had within Smartsheet, or into, it's not Smartsheets, Sheets. I think that was it. Place chips is another one. So again, you can see where this is going. I can type in the address, oops, East Grand, and it'll bring up that smart chip. And then you can see then it brings me the open preview. So if I really wanted to, it brings up maps on the right hand side in the sign panel, and I have all the stuff that I'm used to within maps right here as well. So again, have you not figured out we're trying to incorporate all Google Workspace and be able to have it all in one area? So this is another way of doing that as well. Let's go back and see what else. Google Data, I don't think I did anything on that one. Email draft. So let's talk about my favorite one next. So this is about the variable chip. Remember, the variable chip is the placeholder, right? So that's what we're going to work on now. Now, I like to incorporate just a little extra training, and this is an example of a template or block that you can insert. So this one's already been launched since 2021, I think, is where you can insert the email draft, okay? So once you have the email draft incorporated in there, you then can fill in the fields just like we did for the calendar event. But I want to use this every week, and I want to remind my staff of timesheets being due. This is just an example. But we know the due date obviously changes every week, right? It's a different date. Probably named the same day, Friday or whatever, but it's a different date. So let's actually insert that variable. So you have the new variable chip where you can go ahead and type in the @ and type in variable. Let me do that again. So I'm going to type in @variable, and you have a new smart chip variable. I'm going to click variable. Now, this one already had one, but I can insert a new variable. So I'm going to go ahead and insert a new variable, and I'm going to say due dates. I'm going to say due dates because I already have due date on there. So due dates, even though it's date. So then I have due dates, but I also need that same variable to appear right here as well, right? Because the due date is Friday, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing, but this time I already have it. So I'm going to type in the @ and then type in due dates, and it's an option here for me. So now you'll notice this is the exact same field, right? So now I'm ready to send out my communication, and I'm ready to go. And I could go up to the due date, and I can type in Friday, June 30th, 2023, and I hit enter. Notice it changed in both spots. This one is also a variable. It's name. So it's where you could have it in multiple places. Think bigger, contracts, policies, procedures. You know what that field is that needs to be populated in there. And it's usually the same exact text throughout the document. Now you use the variables. And you can see in this particular example, because this is the one I did for the training video, you can see then there's several different variables on the right-hand side. So when I'm inside these boxes, the pop-up appears on the side panel, and it tells me what variables have been used. You can then insert, you can delete these, you can adjust them, and so much more. So isn't that like amazing? So in reality, in this business need, I can just say, okay, preview, I'm done, it looks good. Send, it brings in those variables, which is in text format, and I'm sending that a reminder sheet. It's done. Easy peasy. So a really nice feature. Let me show you another example as well, just to kind of give you a big picture. That's a great template. Again, can be used for invoices, can be used for calendar building blocks, could be just used for a plain document. Let me show you this privacy policy as well. So this is what we've always done in the past. right? We highlight the text and we need to change those fields that are highlighted. That's what we've done for years. Like every area in here is where you have to insert a different text, right? Well, change this concept and start adding variables. And you can make that variable be whatever it is, like insert, I don't know, test. I don't know. I don't know what that was that I selected. But you know what I'm saying? Now that every variable that where that particular field is, you can insert the data and it will then populate that information that you put in that field throughout every time you saw that test variable. So again, big picture, it's click happy. And then you can always go over here and you can insert, change it, delete it, you know, whatever you want over here as well. So a huge, huge, my video is done much better. You'll get a better understanding of it, but the concept, I think I got across for you on that. So that's good. Let me see if there's anything else on that area. I think that's it. And then I'll just show you Google Meet here real quick. Some of the updates with that, make sure you're aware. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how you can co-present. I'm going to go ahead and add this to another user. Yeah, lots of Jeff. Hold on one. Okay. All right. So I am still in Trainer 13 persona right now. I'm going to go ahead and share a slide deck. I'm going to go ahead and select the slide deck that I want to present. Now, I'm going to backtrack. Notice that I selected by a tab, right? So I'm going to select by tab, and then I select the slide deck that I want to present and click share. Awesome. Now, this is amazing because now I can actually start the slideshow directly inside the Google Meet environment. That's not the update that I'm trying to present, but that's still a really good update. So I want to make sure you're aware of that. Now I can click on Add Co-Presenter, and then I could select another person to be a co-presenter. And then if that person would be logged in or on, so I'm going to bring over Jessica's account, which is my account right now, and I have been added to co-present, and I can co-present that slide deck. So that's a really nice feature as well. The other thing is if I had video, I'll just turn video on real quick. If I was being a little obnoxious as myself, Trainer 13 as the her persona says, Jessica's just driving me a little bonkers today. I can go over here and don't watch me. So that's where that obnoxious filter might be a little annoying. You can always select that on your own. It does not turn off her video feed, obviously. It's only turning on off the person that I selected on your own view. So those are some updates there regarding Google Meet. There's a lot more coming with Google Meet. One of the updates that has been launched but not visible in our own domain yet is that we do allow 1,000 attendees. There are some little different settings that you need to be aware of, so look for that. That's why I strongly encourage you to join the Google Space community, so you are in the know of those kind of updates when they're really available in our domain. I think that is it that I have for today. I'm sure I forgot something, but if you have any questions, you can always contact us and learn more. With that, this video will be posted on the YouTube channel to definitely share. And also when it is posted on the Google YouTube channel, please always check out the description to learn more. You'll also have access to the slide deck.